Kwame Adeyemi stood in the crowded hall of the city's most prestigious social event, trying to mask the storm of emotions swirling inside him. The vibrant lights of Accra danced across the polished floors, laughter and chatter filling the air. But for Kwame, everything blurred when Zola Nwosu, the woman he thought would be by his side forever, stepped forward wearing a dazzling smile. She held Minister Tay Balogun's arm, radiant and confident, announcing to everyone that they were engaged. The words hit Kwame like a thunderclap, each syllable slicing through the pride he had carefully built over the years. Friends and acquaintances whispered, some glancing at him with pity, others with a smirk that made his chest tighten. He felt a heavy, bitter mix of betrayal and disbelief. Memories of late-night conversations, shared dreams, and promises of building a life together flashed through his mind, making the scene even more unbearable. Kwame's heart ached not only from losing Zola but from the public humiliation, standing there as the man she discarded for power and influence. Yet amid the shock and hurt, a small spark ignited inside him. He clenched his fists, forcing a steady breath, and whispered under his breath, "You'll regret underestimating me." That quiet promise was more than a mantra. It became the seed of a plan that would reshape his life. As the crowd erupted in applause for the announcement, Kwame retreated to a corner, observing Zola and Tay from a distance. He analyzed their smiles, the way they carried themselves, and the power dynamic they projected. In that moment, heartbreak transformed into clarity. He realized that this wasn't just about love lost. It was about proving himself, not for her, but for the city, the community he had always wanted to serve, and the life he deserved. Every insult, every glance of pity, fueled a determination that had nothing to do with revenge alone. It was about rising above, about turning the deepest humiliation into unstoppable momentum. Kwame stepped forward, his mind racing with strategies, allies, and a vision so strong that nothing could stand in its way. From that moment, the ambitious entrepreneur vowed to rise, not just to prove Zola wrong, but to become the leader everyone would remember, and no one would dare underestimate again. This heartbreak marked the beginning of a journey that would shock everyone, even those who thought his life was over. Kwame remembered the early days with Zola, a time that felt like a different lifetime. They had met at a university event in Lagos, both young, ambitious, and full of dreams. Nights were spent discussing ideas about changing their city, starting businesses, and even getting involved in politics. Kwame had always been drawn to leadership, inspired by the thought of serving his community, while Zola had a charm and energy that made every moment feel exciting. For a while, it seemed like they were unstoppable together, a power couple destined to leave a mark. As Kwame's interest in politics grew, he started volunteering for local initiatives, cleaning streets, organizing youth programs, and advocating for better schools. He dreamed of being more than an entrepreneur. He wanted to be a voice for the people, someone who could transform the city from the ground up. Zola had supported him at first, attending events, smiling at his speeches, and cheering him on. But slowly cracks appeared. Her support began to feel conditional, tied to the visibility, status, and influence Kwame could provide. She started attending parties with powerful people, focusing on the doors that could open for her rather than the shared vision they once had. Kwame started noticing the difference between genuine passion and opportunism. Zola's priorities shifted, and while she laughed about ambitions and ideals, her eyes always searched for prestige and advantage. Her opportunistic nature became undeniable when she chose Tay Balogun, a politician with fame and influence, over the man she had promised to stand by. The betrayal stung, but Kwame's mind was never clouded by regret for long. He knew he needed a team he could trust, people who believed in his vision without ulterior motives. That's when Amina Chakir entered the picture. A longtime friend and sharp strategist, Amina had watched Kwame grow from a hopeful student to a determined entrepreneur. She understood his ambitions and shared his vision for genuine leadership. Unlike Zola, she was loyal, practical, and fearless, unafraid to challenge Kwame when needed and always ready with a plan. As Kwame reflected on their past, he realized that heartbreak had clarified who mattered. With Amina's guidance and unwavering support, he began to see a path forward, one that wasn't about chasing love lost but about building something that could never be taken away. Together, they would turn ambition into action and betrayal into the fuel for an unstoppable journey. Kwame couldn't escape the whispers, the knowing glances, or the laughter that followed him wherever he went. Every social gathering in Accra seemed to turn into a stage for Zola Enkay. She wore designer dresses, smiled for the cameras, and flaunted the life she had chosen. One full of influence, power, and prestige. Friends they once shared now casually commented, "He was left for someone powerful," as if repeating it enough would make it true. Even colleagues, some he considered mentors, shook their heads in pity or quietly chuckled behind their hands. Each word, each look, was a reminder of how publicly he had been humiliated. It hurt more than Kwame ever imagined. The sting of betrayal was sharp, but what cut deepest was seeing how easily people reduced his worth to being the one she left behind. For a brief moment he considered retreating, staying invisible, and letting Zola's choices define his life. But as he watched her parade her happiness, something inside him shifted. The humiliation, the whispers, and the pity didn't weaken him. They ignited a fire. If everyone thought he was finished, he decided, then he would prove them all wrong in a way no one could ignore. Kwame began to see a path forward, one fueled not by revenge alone but by strategy, ambition, and transformation. He refused to let humiliation dictate his next move. Instead, he turned inward, analyzing what made Tay successful, what the public admired, and how he could use his own strengths to rise above. Each insult, each mocking comment became a lesson, a reminder that power and respect weren't given, they were earned. He reached out to Amina Chakir, his loyal strategist, and together they plotted a course that would start small but grow unstoppable. Grassroots projects, community engagement, and calculated public appearances would be their first steps. Kwame understood that humility and focus would win respect faster than anger ever could. The heartbreak he felt was no longer a weakness. It was the fuel for a plan so precise that when the time came, no one would laugh at him again. As the city continued to watch Zola bask in her new life, Kwame made a silent vow. His next chapter would not just erase the humiliation. It would turn it into a story of unstoppable rise, one that would leave everyone, including her, in awe. Kwame knew that words alone wouldn't rebuild his reputation or prove his worth. He needed action, visibility, and results. So he started from the very ground up. He organized community cleanups in neighborhoods long ignored, turning empty lots into safe spaces for children to play. He launched youth mentorship programs, teaching skills that could help them earn a living and stay out of trouble. Charity drives followed, distributing food, school supplies, and medical aid to those in need. Each project was small at first, but the impact was real, tangible, and visible. People began to notice the change he was bringing to the city, and for the first time since the heartbreak, Kwame felt a sense of purpose that outweighed pain. Along the way, he gained loyal allies who shared his vision. Oba Okoro, a respected community elder, lent his wisdom and credibility, guiding Kwame through political nuances. Nandi Mensah, a young activist with a knack for social media, helped amplify Kwame's message, turning local initiatives into viral stories that captured attention across the city. Deo Aramu, a skilled organizer and strategist, ensured each event ran smoothly, building a reputation for professionalism and dedication. Together, they formed a team that was not just competent but unstoppable, each member complementing Kwame's energy and ambition. The public began to take notice. Neighbors who once whispered about his heartbreak now shared photos of Kwame helping the community. Local bloggers and journalists covered his efforts, and social media buzzed with praise for a young man transforming his pain into action. Hashtags supporting his initiatives started trending, giving Kwame visibility he had never imagined in such a short time. The city began to see him not as a man left behind, but as a leader with vision and impact. Meanwhile, Zola remained dismissive, confident that Kwame would never rise politically. "He'll never make it," she told a friend at a party, smiling smugly. But Kwame paid no attention. Every comment, every underestimation, only fueled his determination. He had begun proving that leadership wasn't about status, charm, or connections. It was about results, consistency, and integrity. His first steps were humble, but they set the foundation for something unstoppable. A momentum that would grow beyond anyone's expectations, including Zola's. Kwame's influence grew. So did the resistance. Competitors, threatened by his rising popularity and fresh approach, launched smear campaigns, spreading false rumors about his past and questioning his abilities. Some even tried bribery, offering money or political favors if he stepped aside. Others went further, issuing veiled threats, hoping fear would make him retreat. But Kwame had learned from heartbreak that intimidation only fueled his determination. He refused to be shaken, focusing instead on tangible results and transparent actions that no lie could overshadow. Every setback became a lesson in resilience, and every attack only sharpened his strategy. During this period, Kwame observed Tay Balogun more closely. The man had undeniable political skills. He commanded attention, negotiated deals effortlessly, and understood public perception better than most. But Tay's arrogance was obvious. He assumed power and influence were inherited rather than earned. Kwame realized that rather than viewing Tay purely as an adversary, there was an opportunity to channel his talents towards something greater. After careful planning, Kwame arranged a meeting that would change everything. In a private discussion, Kwame presented a vision for the city unlike anything Tay had seen before. He spoke not just of power or titles, but of transformative policies, education, infrastructure, and youth empowerment. He outlined a campaign rooted in action, integrity, and community impact. Kwame's passion and clarity surprised Tay, whose confidence had never been challenged in this way. For the first time, Tay saw someone who could lead not by force or influence, but by genuine vision and commitment. Impressed by Kwame's leadership and ethical approach, Tay made a choice that shocked many. He joined Kwame's campaign. The former rival, once the symbol of Kwame's personal betrayal, became one of his strongest allies. Tay's skills, connections, and insider knowledge amplified the campaign's reach, while Kwame's integrity ensured the focus remained on results and service, not ego or revenge. This unexpected alliance silenced competitors, stunned observers, and sent a powerful message. Kwame wasn't just surviving the political battlefield, he was mastering it. With the obstacles turning into opportunities and former rivals now part of his team, Kwame's momentum surged. Every smear, bribe attempt, and threat became proof that he was on the right path, one destined to redefine leadership in his city. With Tay Balogun now on his team, Kwame felt an unprecedented surge of momentum. Tay brought insider knowledge of political machinery, effective campaign tactics, and connections that opened doors Kwame had only dreamed of. Every strategy session became sharper, every decision more precise, and the campaign began running like a well-oiled machine. They mapped out neighborhoods, targeted community leaders, and crafted messages that resonated with ordinary citizens. Kwame's ideas, combined with Tay's political acumen, created a perfect balance of vision and execution, making the campaign impossible to ignore. The city started taking notice. Local newspapers highlighted Kwame's hands-on approach and growing influence. Social media buzzed with images of him meeting residents, organizing programs, and speaking passionately about change. Videos of his speeches went viral, with people sharing clips that showcased his integrity, energy, and actionable plans. The narrative had shifted. Kwame was no longer the man left behind. He was now the rising force everyone was watching. Public perception shifted rapidly, with citizens praising his authenticity and results-driven approach. Meanwhile, Zola couldn't hide her anxiety. She saw Kwame's name trending across platforms, heard conversations about his community impact, and noticed influential allies joining his campaign. The smug confidence she once held began to waver. For the first time, the woman who had abandoned him realized he was moving far beyond her expectations. She had underestimated his resilience, vision, and the power of a team built on loyalty and shared goals. The defining moment came when Kwame appeared on national television, flanked by a diverse, unified team, including Tay. The broadcast highlighted their collective vision, showcasing people from different backgrounds working together to serve the city. The unity, professionalism, and energy were impossible to ignore, capturing the attention of the public and media alike. Clips circulated instantly, inspiring discussions about leadership, integrity, and collaboration. The visual of Kwame and his team symbolized strength, inclusion, and determination, cementing his status as a leader on the rise. In that moment, the strategic alliance proved its worth. Tay's skills complemented Kwame's vision, the media amplified their efforts, and the city began to see a new kind of leadership, one rooted in action, respect, and genuine transformation. Zola's doubts grew as Kwame's momentum became unstoppable, setting the stage for a rise that would leave everyone, including her, in awe. The night of the debate, the city buzzed with anticipation. Kwame walked onto the stage with calm confidence, flanked by his team, including Tay, whose presence radiated both support and strategy. Across from him were seasoned politicians, experienced in public speaking and manipulation, ready to challenge every word he said. The crowd was tense, the cameras rolling, and millions tuned in online. But Kwame's focus never wavered. He knew this was more than a debate. It was an opportunity to show the city that his rise wasn't luck or sympathy. It was earned through vision, integrity, and action. From the first question, Kwame commanded attention. He spoke clearly, presenting facts about the city's issues, concrete plans for reform, and innovative solutions for education, infrastructure, and youth empowerment. His words carried weight because they were backed by results. Projects already underway, communities already improved. The audience could see that he didn't just talk about change, he had already started making it happen. Every point he made was concise, persuasive, and delivered with an energy that made his opponents struggle to respond. Behind the scenes, Tay's strategic guidance became evident. Kwame anticipated questions, addressed potential attacks before they came, and subtly highlighted his team's achievements. Tay had helped him prepare for every angle, ensuring that the campaign's message remained consistent, compelling, and impossible to refute. The synergy between Kwame and Tay was visible, a perfect balance of leadership and tactical brilliance. Then came the moment that would go viral. When asked about his past and personal struggles, Kwame smiled and said, "Leadership is about action, not who you leave behind." The crowd erupted into applause, cheering not just for his words, but for the truth behind them. Social media exploded with the quote, hashtags trending across platforms as people shared clips, memes, and messages praising his integrity and determination. People who had doubted him were now followers, inspired by his focus, humility, and clear vision. By the end of the debate, it was clear, Kwame had not only crushed his opponents but also won the hearts and minds of the city. The debate became a defining moment, transforming public perception, solidifying his rise, and showing that true leadership is earned through action, not ego or past heartbreak. Kwame's momentum was now unstoppable, and the city was ready to follow him. Election day arrived with a mix of tension and anticipation that swept across the city. From the early hours, polling stations were crowded with citizens eager to cast their votes, while Kwame and his team moved from location to location, ensuring everything ran smoothly and encouraging civic engagement. The energy was electric. Chants, banners, and supporters lining the streets reflected the months of hard work and relentless campaigning. Every handshake, every photo, and every smile had led to this moment, the culmination of strategy, perseverance, and vision. As the votes were tallied, the atmosphere in Kwame's campaign headquarters was tense but hopeful. Screens displayed numbers slowly climbing, each update bringing a wave of anticipation. Competitors nervously watched as Kwame steadily pulled ahead, his lead widening with every report. The months of obstacles, smear campaigns, and public underestimation were being washed away by the undeniable support of a city inspired by action and integrity. Every community project, every grassroots initiative, and every speech had counted, transforming public perception into overwhelming approval. Finally, the announcement came. Kwame had won by a landslide. The news spread like wildfire. Supporters erupted in celebration across neighborhoods, cheering in streets, honking car horns, and waving banners with his name. Social media exploded with victory posts, videos of celebrations, and heartfelt messages praising his vision and perseverance. Kwame's rise, once doubted by many, had now become a story of triumph that would inspire countless others. Meanwhile, Zola watched from home, unable to hide her shock and humiliation. The life she had chosen with Tay, the status she flaunted, now seemed hollow in comparison to Kwame's achievement. For the first time, she realized that the man she had left behind had not only survived but had soared far beyond her expectations. Her silence was a stark contrast to the citywide celebration, highlighting the depth of his transformation and her misjudgment. Through it all, Kwame remained humble, acknowledging the hard work of his loyal team. He celebrated with Amina, Tay Oba, Nandi, and Deo, understanding that this victory wasn't just personal, it was collective. Months of heartbreak, strategy, and relentless effort had led to a new chapter for the city, and Kwame's journey from betrayal to triumph had proven that true leadership comes from vision, integrity, and perseverance. Weeks after the election, Zola finally approached Kwame. She found him at a community center, surrounded by his team and volunteers, the energy of progress tangible in every corner. Her steps were hesitant, her confident demeanor from the past replaced by uncertainty. She tried to explain herself, offering excuses for the choices she had made, claiming ambition and circumstance had driven her actions. Her voice wavered as she looked at the man she once thought she knew, now standing taller, stronger, and unshakable. Kwame listened quietly, his expression calm and composed. There was no anger, no rush to prove a point. After a moment he spoke, his words measured but firm. "I never needed your approval to succeed. I only needed my vision and my team." The statement wasn't meant to humiliate her. It was a reflection of truth and self-assuredness. Kwame's tone carried the weight of someone who had endured betrayal, public humiliation, and obstacles, yet had risen above every challenge with integrity and focus. His calmness contrasted sharply with Zola's flustered demeanor, highlighting the strength that had grown from months of determination. Tay and the rest of Kwame's allies watched silently, their presence a quiet affirmation of loyalty and respect. They had seen the journey from heartbreak to victory, understood the effort it took to convert pain into power, and now stood as witnesses to Kwame's unshakable character. Their silence spoke volumes, reinforcing that true leadership wasn't about ego or revenge. It was about building trust, inspiring action, and earning respect through results. Zola's realization hit hard. She understood that Kwame's rise was not fueled by spite or a desire to prove her wrong, but by unwavering commitment to his vision and the people who believed in him. The man she had underestimated had become untouchable, not because of power or manipulation, but because of integrity, perseverance, and authentic leadership. As Zola turned to leave, a sense of finality lingered in the air. Kwame returned to his work, unchanged, focused on the city and the people he served. The confrontation had passed, leaving Zola to reflect on her choices, while Kwame continued to lead with the same clarity, humility, and determination that had guided him from heartbreak to triumph. Years after his rise to leadership, Kwame's vision had transformed the city in ways that few had imagined. Schools were rebuilt and modernized, offering quality education to children who had once lacked basic resources. Healthcare centers now served neighborhoods that had long been neglected, with doctors, nurses, and staff providing care that was both accessible and compassionate. Streets were repaired, new infrastructure projects connected communities, and public spaces were designed for the people to gather, learn, and grow. Each accomplishment reflected not just planning, but a deep understanding of what the city truly needed, a reflection of Kwame's commitment to action over words. The community's response was overwhelming. Citizens celebrated his leadership with gratitude and admiration, from small neighborhood gatherings to large citywide events. People cheered not only for the projects completed, but for the inclusive team that had made it all possible. Tay, Amina, Oba, Nandi, Deo, and countless volunteers stood alongside Kwame, their collaboration a testament to unity and shared purpose. Their efforts, once fueled by strategy and determination, had blossomed into tangible change that impacted every corner of the city. Kwame often paused to reflect on the journey that had brought him here. He remembered heartbreak, betrayal, public humiliation, and the relentless challenges that had seemed insurmountable at the time. And yet he realized that every setback had been a stepping stone. Sometimes betrayal is just a wake-up call to become the person you were always meant to be, he thought, understanding that the pain of the past had sharpened his focus, resilience, and leadership. The final scene captured the essence of his triumph. Kwame stood at a large campaign rally, the crowd erupting in applause, banners waving, voices united in celebration. He was flanked by Tay and his diverse, loyal team, a living symbol of collaboration, perseverance, and integrity. Together, they represented more than political victory. They embodied transformation, hope, and the power of turning adversity into opportunity. The city had witnessed a man rise from heartbreak to leadership, proving that true strength comes from vision, commitment, and the courage to act when it matters most. Kwame's story was no longer just his own. It had become the story of a community awakened, united, and inspired.